All right, so today we're really diving into some fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
Listener wants to know more about, the other guys out there.
The other guy?
Yeah, like who are the major players in the galaxy? And it's not just like, here's their flag, here's what they eat. We're talking real stories, the kind of history that makes you think twice about our place in all of this.
Right, and it gets pretty wild.
Hmm.
I mean, we're talking about ancient grudges that make human history look like a blink of an eye.
Oh, yeah?
Culture's so different, you start to wonder if our definition of civilization even holds up.
Okay, now that's what I'm talking about. But maybe we should start somewhere a little closer to home first.
Sure.
Humans, right. We spread out across, like 30 systems now. But it's not like we just waltzed in and set up shop. Had to have been some bumps along the way.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You can't talk about human expansion without mentioning the Xi'an centuries-long standoff between us. We just call it the Cold War. But
It's the Cold War, that's it.
imagine that tension, that constant threat, lasting longer than the United States has even existed.
Centuries! Wow. Okay, talk about holding a grudge. But it did eventually end, right? What happened? Did we just finally learn to bury the hatchet?
Officially, it was the Perry Line. Kind of like a giant demilitarized zone in space. Marked the turning point, at least on paper.
Okay.
But there are these whispers, rumors of a shared threat. Something that forced both humans and the Xi'an to rethink who the real enemy was.
Oh, a shared threat. Okay, now that's interesting. You got any more details on that, or is this like top secret classified stuff?
The Xi'ans are notoriously secretive, but some say it's a group called the Kurthak. Problem is, human explorers haven't had much luck finding them if they've even been looking in the right places.
The Kurthak, huh? See, this is what I love. Just when you think you're starting to get a handle on things, the galaxy throws a whole new mystery at you. But before we get totally sidetracked, we should probably get back to humanity's story.
Right.
Can't forget about the Tavaran.
Ah, the Tavaran. Now that's a story and a half. Talk about a raw deal, 2 wars against humanity, only to then face pressure to assimilate into the very culture they fought against.
Oof.
Yeah, that's rough. It was a dark time, what they call the Tavaran Purge. Many felt they had to choose between survival and their own heritage. A lot of pain there, no matter how you look at it.
Yeah, to feel like you have to choose between your culture and your safety, that's just... But you mentioned something about a cultural revival. That's got to be a good sign, right?
It's pretty remarkable, actually.
Yeah.
You see more and more Tavaran reclaiming their heritage, finding ways to honor their past within the UEE. It makes you think about the power of culture, how it can endure even after the harshest trials.
It's like this reminder that galactic conflicts, they leave scars, not just on planets, but on civilizations, on people.
Exactly.
So we've got humans with our complicated past, a centuries-long standoff with the Xi'an, and this Tavaran cultural revival. What else is out there? What about, say, the Bennu? They're a trip, no recorded history, which is kind of wild when you think about it.
Right. It really challenges our human-centric view of history. We're so used to relying on written records. But with the Banu, it's all oral tradition. Their history's alive, constantly being reshaped and retold through stories and experiences.
That's wild. Like, their whole culture is a living, breathing archive. So what else makes the Banu so unique?
Well, they're known for being adaptable.
Hmm.
They can breathe all sorts of different atmospheres, thrive in environments that would be totally hostile to us. Plus, they're incredible traders,
Yeah.
always maintaining these open relations, and their craftsmanship is legendary. You know about their Suli system.
I don't think so.
From a young age, every Banu dedicates themselves to mastering one specific craft, guided by these experienced mentors, the Suli, passing down their knowledge and expertise.
Wow, it's like a galaxy-wide apprenticeship program. So you've got the history, the trade, the craftsmanship. Yeah, the Banu sound like they're good people to have on your side.
On the surface, absolutely. But that lack of centralized history always makes you wonder, doesn't it? What aren't they telling us, and why?
Always got to be a little mystery, right? Keeps things interesting.
Yeah, the Banu definitely play their cards close to the chest.
True, true. Speaking of secrets, the Xi'ans have a few of their own, don't they? We touched on their history, that whole Cold War thing.
Right.
But their culture... Now that's a whole other can of worms, or should I say, a whole other nebula of intrigue.
It's pretty different from ours, that's for sure. Did you know their current emperor has been in power for over 3 centuries?
3 centuries. Okay, now that's impressive. What's their secret? Is there some kind of Shinan fountain of youth we don't know about?
Not that I'm aware of. But it does highlight a fundamental difference in their perspective, don't you think?
Yeah.
3 centuries. That's a completely different relationship with time.
I guess we humans tend to think a little more short term.
It shapes their entire worldview. They think in dynasties, epochs, The slow, grand sweep of history.
It's kind of humbling when you think about it. Like maybe we're just too caught up in the day-to-day to really grasp the bigger picture.
It's a good reminder that there are many ways to see the universe.
Right. And speaking of different perspectives, not everyone out there is taking the long view. We've got the Vandul, and they seem to be all about immediate action. And I'm not talking about a firm handshake.
The Vandul are a sobering reminder that not all first contact stories are picnics. They're aggressive, to say the least, unpredictable, brutally efficient. And what's perhaps most unsettling is how little we actually understand them.
Yeah, they're like that big question mark hanging over the galaxy.
Where do they come from? What's driving their relentless attacks? We've got theories, of course, but no real answers.
It makes you wonder, though, is this aggression just in their nature, or is it a reaction to something? Like, do we have any records of their behavior before they encountered humans?
Good question. It's the million credit question, really.
Yeah.
Some people think it all comes down to resources. Maybe their home territory, wherever that is running dry. So they're just out there taking what they can.
Makes sense in a brutal, cosmic sort of way.
Others believe it's more ideological. Like, they're operating on a belief system that sees other species as inferior, even hostile.
So it could be nature, could be nurture, or maybe it's some weird interstellar combination of the two.
Exactly. It's a reminder that the galaxy is a complex place. Not everyone wants to play by the same rules, and not everyone's idea of a friendly greeting involves tea and crumpets.
Okay, that's a terrifying thought. But on a later note, we were talking earlier about these developing civilizations, the ones just starting to figure out their place in the universe.
Ah, yes. Now, those are always fascinating. The Osilians, for example. Imagine a species that communicates not through sound, but through flashes of color generated by their own skin.
You're kidding me. That's incredible. So how does that even work? Is it like a mood ring situation? Or are they out there having full-on conversations in Morse code with their epidermis?
It's more nuanced than that. Think of it as a symphony of light, a complex interplay of patterns and hues. We're still trying to decipher it all, but it makes you realize how much we take our own forms of communication for granted.
Right. Like we're so used to talking, to writing things down. But the Osorians, they've got this whole other sensory experience going on. It really makes you think about all the different ways there are to experience the universe.
Exactly. The Ososians are a great example of how much diversity is out there.
Speaking of diversity, we've got those civilizations that are dealing with, shall we say, some growing pains.
Ah, you're talking about the situation on Genesis II.
Yeah, two species on the brink of war. That's a tough break, even by cosmic standards. It's one thing to navigate a whole new galaxy. It's another to realize you're on a collision course with your planetary neighbors.
It's a complex situation, that's for sure. On the one hand, you've got the cephalopods, ocean-dwelling species, surprisingly sophisticated when it comes to tool use. And then there are the avian reptoids, who've developed complex social structures on land. And after millennia of relative peace, these two are now on a collision course.
And we're just supposed to sit back and watch this happen. I mean, don't we have a responsibility to step in to try and prevent a war?
Well, that's where things get complicated. The Fair Chance Act, a cornerstone of intergalactic law, strictly prohibits interference in the development of emerging civilizations.
Right, the Fair Chance Act. But come on, this is serious. We're talking about a potential war.
It's a tough call, no doubt. Do we prioritize non-interference or preventing harm? It's a dilemma with no easy answers.
It really does. I mean, where do we even draw the line? When is it our place to interfere, and when do we need to let things play out?
Tough questions, no easy answers.
Makes you think about all the other mysteries out there, right? Like, what about the civilizations we don't know about? The ones that have already come and gone?
You're talking about the lost civilizations.
Yeah, the ones that disappeared without a trace.
Vanished into the cosmic mist, leaving behind nothing but whispers and ruins.
It's kind of eerie when you think about it. Like, imagine stumbling upon an abandoned city, perfectly preserved, but totally empty.
It's a reminder that we're not just talking about abstract concepts here. We're talking about real cultures, real lives that have been snuffed out.
And we may never know why. Gives me chills just thinking about it.
Take the Hadesians, for example.
Yeah.
They were technological marvels, way ahead of even our current understanding.
Really? What were they known for?
Their engineering was light years ahead of anything we've ever seen. Some of their structures still stand, defying any explanation we can come up with.
So what happened to them? Did they just pick up and move to a new galaxy? Or did something wipe them out?
That's the million credit question, isn't it? Natural disaster, some kind of self-inflicted catastrophe, we may never know. But their absence serves as a stark reminder that even the most advanced civilizations are not immune to the whims of fate.
It's almost like the cautionary tale, isn't it? A reminder that progress isn't guaranteed.
Exactly.
Well, we've certainly covered a lot of ground today, from ancient grudges to vanished empires to the very nature of civilization itself.
It's a lot to process for
Yeah,
sure.
that's for sure. But hey, that's what we do here, right? We dive deep, we explore, we ask the tough questions.
And hopefully we come out the other side with a little more knowledge, a little more understanding, and maybe even a little more wonder.
I like that. A little more wonder.
Yeah.
That about sums it up. So, to all you listeners out there, keep exploring, keep questioning, and most importantly, keep looking up.